Hello everyone. Today we are going to show you how to install Ubuntu 18 Server on Oracle VirtualBox. I will assume that you've already downloaded the Ubuntu 18 Server ISO image. Should you need to get hold of the Ubuntu 18 Server ISO image, I will post a link in the description box below, and I will also upload a future video that describes the process of downloading the Ubuntu 18 Server ISO image. So to get started, Oracle VirtualBox is currently running. So we're simply going to click on New to create a new virtual machine, or VM for short. So on the next screen, we are going to give the VM a name. So I am going to call it Ubuntu 18 Server. Then I'm going to choose where I wish to install my virtual machine. So I'm basically going to leave it in the default location. Then I'm going to select the type and version. In this case, the type and version has been automatically selected. That's because I have typed in Ubuntu in the name, so it's automatically detected that. But you may need to set this yourself manually. On the next section, I am going to allocate the amount of memory or RAM to my virtual machine. So I'm going to give my virtual machine 4 GB of RAM as follows. Then finally on this screen, I'm basically going to select the hard disk. In this case, I actually want to create a new virtual hard disk, so I'm going to leave that option as default. Then I'm going to click on Create to continue. Right, so on the next screen, we can choose where we wish to install the virtual hard disk, and again, I'm going to leave this option as default. At this point, we want to set the size of our virtual hard disk, so I am actually going to allocate 40 gigs to the size of my virtual hard disk. Next, we can select the hard disk file type. I'm actually going to choose the default option, which is VDI, or VirtualBox disk image. Then finally on this screen, we can define how we store the virtual hard disk on the physical hard disk of the host machine. I am actually going to choose fixed size. Basically what fixed size means is when you create the hard disk, the virtual hard disk, it will allocate the entire 40 gig to the actual virtual hard disk in one go. If you choose dynamic allocation, basically the size of the virtual hard disk once it's created will be very small, and it will increase in time as soon as you start using more and more space within your virtual machine. Within Oracle VirtualBox, I actually choose to prefer using fixed size. The reason is, if I was to allocate say 40 gig to the virtual hard disk and my host machine only had 25 gig available, then should I use up that 25 gig, the virtual hard disk will actually think there's more storage available than there actually is, and that could end up corrupting the virtual hard disk. Okay, in the professional environment, a lot of organizations do use dynamic allocation or thin provisioning, but I won't go into too much depth in relation to that for this video. So once we've done this, I'm just going to click on Create to start creating the virtual hard disk. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to pause recording and then I will resume once the virtual hard disk has been created. So the virtual hard disk has now been created. So what we are going to do next is to choose the virtual hard disk, choose the virtual machine, go into settings, and then we are going to go to system and allocate more processing power to the virtual machine. My host machine actually has 4 cores available, and I'm going to dedicate 2 of those cores to this virtual machine as follows, and then click on OK. Once we've done that, we are going to click on Start to start the actual virtual machine. Okay, so the virtual machine is now started, and what we need to do is select the startup disk. In this case, it's actually an ISO image for the Ubuntu 18 server installation. So I can actually choose it here because I've actually used this ISO image in VirtualBox before. If you don't see this, do not worry. Just post a comment in the video below, and I'll reply back to you on how you can actually choose the ISO image. So I am going to click on Start to continue. Then the installation program will start. Okay, so you may see this message that I'm seeing in relation to auto capture keyboard. So I am actually going to close that. So basically, yeah, so what that message means is if you're using a text-based operating system such as Ubuntu 18 server, should you click inside the virtual machine, the mouse and keyboard will be captured, and you will need to hit a specific key to get hold of the mouse and keyboard so that you can use it on your host machine. In Oracle VirtualBox, the default key on Windows is the right control key, which I've just pressed, and that will allow me to close this message in relation to mouse pointer integration. Okay, so the first option we can now enter is our language. Because I'm English and I'm based in the UK, I'm going to select English. And then I'm going to choose the layout and the variant. So I'll basically use the cursor keys to cycle through the menu options. So I'll go to English UK. The variant set is English UK. So then I'm going to go down to done and press the enter key to continue. Then on the next screen, we can basically set up a network card or the virtual network card. I'm actually going to leave the options as default, which will basically use dynamic IP address allocation via DHCP. Once I'm happy with that, I'm just going to select done to continue. Okay, on the next screen, you can configure what is called a proxy server. Now, in most organizations, they use a proxy server for internet traffic. So internet traffic will go via a proxy server before it hits the internet and vice versa. But in this case, we don't need to worry about that. So I'm just going to leave that option as blank, then press done to continue. Okay, on the next screen, you can basically choose an alternative mirror to download updates for the Ubuntu server. In this case, I'm just going to leave the option as default, then press done to continue. Okay, on this screen, you can basically set up your file system. I am actually going to choose to use an entire disk and set up LVM. Okay, what LVM is, or logical volume management, it actually makes it easier to manage your disks once you've got your server up and running. So I'm going to choose LVM, then hit enter to continue. Then on this screen, we basically choose the virtual disk or the hard disk that we want to install on. And I'm actually going to use the virtual hard disk that we created earlier within this video. Then I'm going to press enter to continue. On this screen, you can actually review your partition setup. Then once you read through it and you're happy, you can just select done to continue. And on this screen, you can basically confirm all changes. Then I'm just going to select continue. So in relation to this screen, which is profile setup, you can basically set up your username and your computer name for your virtual machine. So I'm just going to put in my name, which is Amit. I'm going to put in my server name, which I will call Ubuntu, and I need to probably spell that correctly. I'm going to give myself a username of Amit as well. Then I'm going to put in my password. So once that's done, I'll cycle down to done, then press enter to continue. This screen describes SSH setup, so I'm actually going to choose to install SSH. What SSH allows you to do is to log in remotely to your VM and also copy files to and from it using SSH, which is an encrypted protocol. And a lot of organizations on their Linux machines do use SSH. So once that's done, I'm going to go down to done to continue. Oh yeah, before I forget, you actually use the space bar to check that box or uncheck it. So I'm going to check it again, then go to done to continue. Okay, so the next screen will basically you can choose if you want to install any additional software components. I'm actually not going to choose to install any of them. But if you have any further questions, then please post in the comments below and I'll do my best to get back to you. So I'm actually going to scroll down to the bottom, then enter done to continue. Okay, so the installer has now started. So I'm going to pause the recording and then I'll resume recording the video once this process is completed. At this point of the installation, it's now downloading and installing the security updates. So we'll let that continue and then I'll resume recording once this process is finished. The installation program is finally finished, so I'm just going to select Reboot to reboot the VM. Okay, I'm going to be asked to remove the installation medium, but Oracle VirtualBox would have removed it automatically, so I'm just going to hit enter to continue. Okay, and the virtual machine is now starting. I'm going to close this this message and this message as well. And we are now ready to log in. So I'm just going to try logging in. Actually, we're seeing a few messages pop up. So I'm just going to hit enter a few times, then try logging in. So I'm going to use the user account apt, which I created during the installation process, and then I'm going to log in. Okay, so I'm now looking at the messages on the screen, and it mentions that there are 14 packages that can be updated. So before I continue, I'm just going to apply those packages. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to type in the relevant commands, and I will put these in the description box below. And I'll explain a bit more about these commands in the description box below as well. Okay, because I'm using the command that requires admin access, I'm actually going to need to re-enter my password, which I'll do so now. And then I'm going to apply the final command to do that. And if I enter another admin command within a specific time window, I won't need to keep re-entering my password. I'm now going to pause recording, and then I'll resume once it's finished. Okay, so the updates have now been applied. So what I will do is reboot the system. Again, I'll put this command in the description box below. So the virtual machine is starting again, so I'll close this message. And this one as well. And that's it. Ubuntu 18 server is now installed on Oracle VirtualBox, and the updates have been applied. If you have got to the end of this video, thank you very much for your time. If you like this video, please click on like. Also, please subscribe to the channel should you wish to see further videos from myself, and also do not forget to hit the notification bell so that you can get notified every time I upload further videos to this channel. And please post in the comments if you have any questions or queries. And again, thank you very much for your time.